For those who want more out of every moment this summer, Mazda has more 2025 IIHS top.
This is Super Smash Bros. Melee's home run contest. At first glance, it looks pretty straightforward. You've got a bat, you've got 10 seconds, you gotta deal as much damage as possible to Sandbag, don't worry, he enjoys it, and swing for the fences to send him flying as far as possible. That's it, right? Wrong. Before you begin, you've got a very important decision to make. Do you want the game language to be in English or Japanese? No, I'm serious. Changing the game language to Japanese changes the size of the home run contest platform and how far away Sandbag is when the run starts, which could change your entire strategy. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. I'll be going over everything, from the surface level to forgotten info that used to be common knowledge, to secrets that were actually uncovered in the making of this video and have never been documented before. Let me tell you something. Melee's home run contest is seriously weird. Here's something anyone might notice. Switching the language switches the game from counting your distance in feet to counting in meters. This is only an aesthetic change since you can switch back and forth to see your score in either unit. But the two platforms also give you different scores in the first place. Why? On the one hand, the meters mode platform is larger, so Sandbag has to travel farther before you hit the 0 marker. But on the other hand, the higher platform means that Sandbag stays in the air for longer, lands later, and ultimately nets a higher score. Oh, and if you live in certain parts of the world, your copy of Melee can't do this. The PAL version of Melee, which was released in Europe and Australia, has 5 languages but only 1 platform. The larger one where distance is counted in meters. There's no way to access the smaller feet mode platform at all. While we're on the topic of your score, let's take a closer look at the score tracker. See how it's always got 4 digits? You might be wondering what happens if you get to 10,000 feet and overflow the tracker. Well, we know the answer to this because 2 characters, Ganondorf and Ice Climbers, are strong enough to actually pass the 10k mark. Once you pass 10k, the score tracker stops updating, but your actual final score is stored properly on the character select screen. So, if you get a new high score above 10,000 feet, you need to wait until the character select screen loads to know exactly where you ended up. Next, you might be wondering, what about passing 10,000 meters? Well, you don't have to worry about that because it's impossible. Not because nobody can hit the Sandbag that far, but because the floor literally just ends. After the 11,300 foot marker, Sandbag will slide until it appears to fall through the floor. And then it keeps falling seemingly forever because home run contest doesn't end until Sandbag has come to a standstill, and Sandbag will not come to a standstill as long as he's midair. So what ends up happening? It turns out that once Sandbag is either 5,000 meters below the floor or 5,000 meters to the right of his starting position, a failsafe in Melee's code is triggered, which causes a game crash. And this doesn't actually count as Sandbag stopping, so there's no possible way to save your score. The maximum valid score, the last value before Sandbag falls off, is exactly 11,347.2 feet. But here's the catch. While you can't save your score, the game still tracks it. There are a few trophies in Melee that get rewarded once your home run contest total distance passes certain numbers. Sandbag for 300 meters, Paper Mario for 450 meters, and Unknown for 5,000 meters. But if you quit out before the bag comes to a standstill, you get credit for the distance achieved so far. So you can pause at 500 meters and get Sandbag and Paper Mario faster than if you let Sandbag stop by itself. Unfortunately, you can't one-shot Unknown because the game will crash right before the 5,000 meter mark. But you could, in theory, swing the bat with, say, Mario for 100 meters, then complete the overlimit Ganondorf strat, watch Sandbag sail through the air until he goes off camera, pause and quit out after you've gotten to 4,900 meters, but before the game freezes at 5,000, and you will get credit for all of that distance and be rewarded the Unknown trophy. On a related note, a less well-known fact is that the meters mode platform has a shorter maximum score. This is because the platform is larger, but the total stadium distance is the same length. So distance is counted starting later, and the end is therefore at a smaller number. Thus, it's actually impossible to tie the world record for Ganondorf or Ice Climbers in PAL, because Sandbag will fall off if you get less than 2 feet away from the record. Before we go any further, I need to explain the different versions of Melee. Japan and North America received the initial release, version 1.00, in November 2001, and then 2 updates, versions 101 and 102, later that same year. For home run contest purposes, 101 and 102 are identical. Keep in mind, Melee was not patchable. These updates came in the form of new discs, distinguishable by the version number printed on them. These versions are collectively known as NTSC because they were released in regions that used the NTSC video standard, the details of which we don't care about. PAL, which I've already mentioned, is likewise named because it was released in regions that used the PAL video standard. It came out in May 2002 and was the last patch Melee received. So, why does this all matter? As we've already discussed, there are two different home run contest platforms, the larger meters mode platform and the smaller feet mode platform that PAL doesn't have access to. Just like how there are multiple
Kirby, a character who's historically struggled to make much of an impact in the competitive Smash landscape, except for in the very first game on the Nintendo 64, where to this day he's ranked second on their tier list. His cute little kick looks innocuous enough, but its outrageous hitbox with equally outrageous combo potential, as well as its ability to lock opponents into their shield and cause a true block string into a shield break, makes it one of the most notoriously overtuned attacks ever seen in the series. Following this up, Kirby was famously nerfed into oblivion for Melee, going from one of the biggest threats around to a dysfunctional mess. But up tilt remained one of his saving graces, wading through a heavy round of nerfs and still coming out the other side as a strong combo starter and anti-air, and the story has remained about the same ever since, with Kirby kicking legendary warriors and fearsome monsters around like hacky sacks as he meanders through the lower half of each new tier list that comes around. In Smash 4, it gained a kill confirm if custom moves were enabled, and it also provides a relatively safe way to fish for Inhale if you want a copy ability for a given matchup, and there are quite a few good ones. Kirby, a character who's historically struggled to make much of an impact in the
It's time I show you just how cool your grandpa really is.
Both of your eyes?
At this level, you should at least be able to perceive this.
Huh?
He's just fine. He used Jai to divert the trajectory. That's proof that his power and judgment are close to blooming. Sorry for breaking Shinzo's sword that he gave you. Why don't we call it a day?
I'm fine. I'm just getting started. Doing all this is really not a big risk for me.
Your Gramps is happy to have you as his grandson. That said, the real challenge starts now.
Tayo?
My body moved on its own. To sacrifice myself by taking the bullet? It was to block the bullet.
Hardening. So that's your type of blooming. The cells in your hand solidified and your joints softened to reduce the impact of the bullet.
Don't ever point your gun at Mutsumi like that again.
It's time I show you just how cool your grandpa
multiple platforms, it turns out that there are actually multiple home run contest stadiums. In fact, the stadium in Melee version 1.00 is not only different from the stadium that's consistent across the other versions of Melee, but there are also two separate stadiums in 1.00, one for meters mode and one for feet mode.
Knock knock. Hi there. I'd love to show you what a K-12 powered school is really like.
Both of these stadiums are less than half the length of the stadium we all know and love. 1.00 feet mode is relatively straightforward, but 20 plus years later, its 4,500 foot maximum distance has been surpassed by 16 of Melee's 25 characters. Meters mode is a whole other story. The track itself is a little over 1,500 meters, or 4,900 feet long. However, there's a small problem. Starting close to 900 meters, or 3,000 feet, the game will actually give you a no distance message instead of recording your score. Unless, for whatever reason, the bag already touched the track before you launched it. So, for a brief period of time before version 1.01 was released in late 2001, the only way for an American player to set a home run contest world record was by changing the game language to Japanese, then finishing their strategy by letting Sandbag touch the track before launching it beyond the limit of the stadium they had access to in English. Then, in PAL, these convoluted finishers actually got patched out. In that version, if Sandbag touches the track for more than one frame, it becomes immune to any further attacks. So trying to replicate these strategies just results in the bat harmlessly passing through it. So letting Sandbag touch the track went from a necessity for optimal scores to an equal option to impossible across the various released versions of Melee. Sometime after Melee version 1.00 was finalized, the developers realized that the shorter limit was inadequate. They fixed the meters mode glitch and extended the track for version 1.01 and all subsequent versions. It's a good thing that they did because the first players to surpass the version 1.00 limit did so within months of the game coming out. In fact, the developers themselves produced a quote-unquote special movie disc, awarded to tournament winners at an event in Japan in early 2002, in which they got within 20 meters of the glitched meters mode limit with an incredibly simple strategy with Yoshi. So it was probably pretty clear that players would find ways to surpass it. Yet, despite the changes the developers made, there's one last weird thing that all three stadiums have in common. The stadium floor is not completely flat. Let me say that again if you didn't catch that. The stadium floor is not completely flat. It is hard to overstate just how weird this is. All they had to do was make sure that the left side and the right side of a single line shared the same height. Not only that, but the three stadiums each have slightly different heights and slopes, and the height difference is minuscule. The right end of each floor is only 3 to 4 centimeters, or 1/10 of a foot higher than the left end. I need to put this into perspective. The longest home run contest stadium is 11,347.2 feet. That is nearly the length of Central Park in New York City. What the Melee developers did is the equivalent of Central Park's planners saying, by the way, it is actually extremely important that the north end of Central Park is 1.5 inches higher than the south end. It honestly blows my mind that this survived all of Melee's patches. But I learned about it, so now I'm burdening you with this knowledge too. Anyway, there's other ground to cover, so let's move on to the characters. Critical to the distance each character can achieve in Home Run Contest is their bat swing. Most characters have the exact same properties on their swing, which makes it a universal tool unless you have something stronger than it, such as Bowser's fully charged forward smash or Jigglypuff's rest. But a few characters actually have really weird, useless swings. Sheik has a double swing which deals 22% and sends Sandbag practically straight up. Captain Falcon is the only character with 2 different swings, but both are useless. You can either deal 30% and send Sandbag almost nowhere, or do the same 22% as Sheik with a near vertical but slightly backwards trajectory. Luckily, both of these characters have alternative options for a strong final hit. Falcon can simply use Falcon Punch, which is stronger than the bat anyway, while Sheik has to transform into Zelda to utilize her normal swing. Notably, Ganondorf's swing uses the same animation as the first half of Captain Falcon's, but has entirely normal properties. It's also never seen since Warlock Punch is superior to the bat in pretty much every circumstance. And finally, there's a universal option that's stronger than a swing, throwing the bat straight down while right beside the sandbag. But there's a catch. This is weaker at lower percents, with ever so slightly higher knockback growth. This means that bat throw down only becomes stronger than a tipper at high percents, specifically when sandbag is at 351% or higher, where they both send it over 8,000 feet. As of right now, there's only one character that can get Sandbag to that high of a percent before launching it, the Ice Climbers. In order to do this, they activate a glitch called the Freeze Glitch, which traps Sandbag in place so they can deal massive damage to it. In fact, they deal so much damage to Sandbag that they don't even need to use the strongest option available to them. At 423%, a swing or a bat throw down would overshoot the track and crash the game, so instead they throw the bat up, which is slightly weaker but makes it easier for them to target the exact end of the track.
Hey bro, this game is packed with so many characters it'll make your head spin. And you haven't tried it yet? Man, you're seriously missing out.
The next entry on this list is something that a lot of people are aware of, but nobody really ever thinks about. See, when you start most games in Melee, the announcer kicks things off by yelling his iconic, "Ready, go!" There are a few exceptions where this is skipped, like Master Hand Fights or entering the All-Star Rest area, but Home Run Contest is an exception to the exception. It's the only place in the game where the announcer yells "ready," but "go" doesn't follow. And this actually has a gameplay implication. In modes where "go" is on the screen, the timer doesn't start until "go" disappears. This grants you an extra 40 frames or 2/3 of a second in versus mode, and decreases your final time and break the targets by the same amount. But only in Home Run Contest did the developers decide that you don't get those extra 40 frames. You get 10 seconds and 1 frame exactly. Oh yeah, if the dev's goal was to limit you to exactly 10 seconds, they screwed up because 1. The timer doesn't start counting down from 10.00 until the frame after ready disappears, and you can move on that frame. And 2, if you input an action with 0.01 seconds left, it will get processed and your character will start that action with no time on the clock. At least this error ends up benefiting the players. But practically nothing else about Home Run Contest does. If you've ever tried to play it, you know that it's actually remarkably hard just to get started. A significant part of most characters' arsenals is pretty much impossible to use and instead will just knock Sandbag off the platform and end the run. This was fixed in Brawl with the addition of platform shields. invisible walls on either side of the platform that Sandbag will bounce off, unlocking every character's full moveset and making it far more likely that you'll be able to finish a run successfully with a bat swing. Another change in Brawl Onward is that if you send the sandbag to the left, your run instantly ends. This isn't the case in Melee, and remarkably there's actually something there: the back wall. The back wall is an invisible wall to the left of the platform that's become integral to many world record strategies over the years. But what you might not know is that the developers even use the back wall themselves. The special movie disc contains several pre-release videos of players using the back wall in home run contest strategies. Speaking of which, this is a good time to mention that the back wall actually scales alongside the platform size, and so it's farther away in meters mode than it is in feet mode. And while it would make at least a little sense that the platform and back wall in one of feet or meters mode would match the actual size of the model stored on Melee's disc, and the other would be scaled. The meters mode platform is scaled up, and the feet mode platform is scaled down. Now onto the sandbag itself. To allow the game to keep track of Sandbag's percent, the developers actually coded it as a character, not an item. This means that it can be grabbed just like other characters rather than picked up like the bat and other items. This allows us to take advantage of an error in home run contest coding to perform some unintended actions. See, normally, when Sandbag lands on the track, the game instantly ends. However, only a specific set of landing animations trigger this game end, and Sandbag's getting grabbed animation is not one of them. So you can knock Sandbag off the platform, grab it before it touches the ground, and let it go, and the timer will not stop. You can even keep hitting it as long as it doesn't leave the ground, so for instance Fox can hit it with Shine over and over. Another less fun part of Sandbag is that it's affected by randomness, or RNG. Once characters are past 100% damage, most strong attacks have a random chance of putting them into what's called spiral knockback, where the character twirls in a spiral animation after they get hit. Sandbag, since it's coded as a character, is no exception. Home run contest players often find themselves hitting Sandbag straight into the ground to keep it in place. But if you get the 30% chance of spiral knockback on the downward hit, Sandbag will actually land upside down. Upside down Sandbag has a different hurt box placement, which can ruin your positioning for future attacks. At this point, there are home run contest records which depend on getting as few upside down sandbags as possible, with even 2 meaning you can't achieve the world record score. Oh, and by the way, something that I wasn't even aware of until very recently, but Sandbag actually has a cute little idle animation. You have to look very, very closely to see it though. Despite the millions of people who've played this game, there is not a single reference to this anywhere online, outside of the message reigning world record holder HRC Typo sent me informing me of this fact. Shoutouts to Typo, by the way, he was instrumental in fact-checking this video.
Okay, if there's one AI site builder you need to meet, it's this dope tech from Wix.
You might be thinking I might be running out of topics by now, but we haven't even gotten to the biggest one yet, the home run contest bat. To start, I need to explain hitboxes, which are the sphere or capsule-shaped parts of attacks that deal damage to your opponent. In Melee's debug mode, they're displayed in red. It's commonly known that the bat has 3 separate hitboxes, with its strongest being at the tip, logically known as the tipper. The tipper has the lowest priority of the 3 main hitboxes, which means that it will be ignored if one of the other 2 connects at the same time as it. So in order to maximize distance, you need to space your swing so the tipper touches the sandbag, but the other 2 hitboxes don't. Lesser known is the bat's 4th and lowest priority hitbox. Unlike the other 3, it deals only 8% and lacks the distinctive ping sound effect, which is where it gets its unofficial name, the no ping hit. For most characters, the no ping hit connects to their shoulders, so hitting one usually requires hitting sandbag out of midair. Pikachu and Pichu are notable for their shared swing animation, which has their no ping hitbox extend behind them. This means that if they get close enough, they can hit sandbag with the no ping hit simply by swinging backwards. No ping hits are notable because they're far superior to tippers at low percent, but with much lower knockback growth. The inflection point where a tipper starts to become superior is 116% prior to the hit. Players on the special movie disc often didn't rack up that much damage on sandbag, opting instead to optimize their routes to lead into no ping swings. This usually came in the form of a hit off the back wall. One of the most annoying parts of the bat is that some of its behavior is also governed by RNG. All but one home run contest world record utilizes bat drops, where the player lets go of the bat, lets it hit sandbag, and then hits sandbag with an attack before it can fly too far. Unfortunately, if during this process you let the bat hit the ground, there's a random chance that it will disappear, usually ending your run. There are actually 2 separate processes at work here, so this might get a little bit confusing. First is that the game tracks the number of times the bat touches the ground after being released. On each of the first 3 bounces, there's a 25% chance that the bat will simply disappear. In other words, there's a 58% chance that the bat will be gone if your strategy requires 3 ground touches. To make matters worse, the 4th ground touch is 100% guaranteed to result in a disappearing bat. The second type of bat RNG is similar but distinct. The game also tracks the number of times that you release or throw the bat, and if that number is exactly 4, and only exactly 4, not 3, not 5, and you allow the bat to touch the ground, it will always disappear, even if this is its first ground touch. Personally, I kinda see the logic here, even though it doesn't seem to work out as the developers intended. It's like this is a failsafe for the prior RNG. Assuming that the bat touches the ground every time you release it, by the 4th release, you will trigger both of the bat disappearance guarantees at the same time. Of course, it doesn't always work out this way, with players routinely throwing or dropping the bat without letting it touch the ground. Also, it definitely doesn't make any sense to me that this one applies to the 4th release and only the 4th release. But if you add this to all of the other home run contest weirdness, a pattern starts to emerge, that of a rushed game mode with a ton of interesting ideas that probably needed just a little more time to polish up. I wouldn't be surprised if this mode is practically a beta, rushed for Melee's release before the formula could be iterated for Brawl and beyond. And the changes in later games do correct several of these issues. Brawl fixed the unnecessary difficulty with the addition of platform shields, as well as removing the back wall and track shenanigans. Smash 4 removed major character-based sources of RNG, including preventing Luigi from being able to misfire his side B. And finally, in Ultimate, Sandbag has infinite knockback resistance when it's first hit, meaning any single hit move can be used to start a run because it won't send Sandbag anywhere, so every character can use any part of their arsenal at least once. But at the same time, it feels like some elements of Home Run Contest got lost over the series. One critical aspect of items in Melee is that if you press the A button or Z button, you can't grab them out of midair for the next 40 frames. And since you can't use the C-stick in all of Melee's single-player mode,
今度空が晴れたらね。
ションエンジンにデトラック6速マイル新搭載。新しいスープラが走りたい。ザ・スポーツ・オブ・トヨタ。
you